I tell people I'm the quarterback, I'm throwing the ball. And if you, on the other end, the receiver isn't catching the ball and you miss that
Mm,
50% of the catches, that's a real problem because you've already spent
yeah.
thousands to get the ball to you, you
Mhm.
know, and then no one's catching it and taking it to the end zone. Today, who is Jeannie is the director of business development at Move It Pro software to help moving companies grow their business with the right kind of operational software. But I'm not going to describe it because I think Jeannie could probably describe it better than I could. So, Jeannie, thank you so much for hopping on. I appreciate it so much.
Oh
Tell
my
me about
goodness,
yourself and tell me how you got here and about the Move It Pro software.
Christina, thank you so much for asking me to be on. I mean, it's an honor to actually be in this together, and especially in this industry. I usually like to say it's dominated by males, which we love our men. I have
Love our
nothing against our men.
nope.
We let you guys boots on the ground,
Love the
but
men.
we do. But I love to be able to work right alongside them, work and help them, and there's nothing more stronger than being able to be part of that with Move It Pro software. I have to give kudos to Jason, but the way I started was I'm a South Florida girl. I've been there for over so many years. And it was time for my husband to do a transition and move with his company here in Central Florida. And so I am a home educator, 20 some years. Believe it or not, it wasn't something that I just said, hey, I'm going to homeschool my kids. It was kind of more like, well, let's take it year by year. And lo and behold, it ended up being really successful for us. And now I have a 19 and a 23-year-old. But the reason why I'm saying that is because when I came to Move It Pro, I wanted to work for a company that really valued family. And Jason and Kayla really value family. So it's a very family run business where they even allow you to bring your pet. It's just more of a relaxed, laid back atmosphere. When I checked out, I vetted the company, right? I said, let me go and see if he'll hire me. And sure enough, they actually saw my credentials, but they were like, more of the attitude that I gave them, that I expressed. Because I always believe, that I think just being positive and wanting to do something and do it well. And I
Mhm.
think that's what he saw in me and allowed me to go in. And then I started from the ground up. He let me work around my schedule with my son at the time because we homeschool. And then on Fridays, it's that one full day of the classes that he goes to. And then I would just work part time and I worked in the Lion's Den that you could see there in my background that
Mhm.
Kayla had created for me. And
Mhm.
I ended up obviously going up in the company. I think I actually am right next to my CEO's office, and she actually heard me and pulled me in and said, hey, you know what? You would do really well in this portion of the company. Would you want to be a part of that? And I said, fantastic, and I can't do it at this time. She goes, no, no worries. When my son graduated and everything, they transitioned me into that position. So, I could be a little long winded, but you're going to ask me
All good.
about.
All good. I feel the same way. I feel the same way when it comes to running a business. It's family first. I mean, I started this when I had a baby. I just had a baby and I didn't want to go to a job. I wanted to be home and I was married to a Marine. So every 2 years I had to
Mhm,
move. And so
mhm,
finding a job that challenged me, that
mhm.
thing. By then I was already building a couple of websites for like local
Yeah,
judges, stuff like that. And I'm like,
really?
I can do this from home, you know? And then my husband got stationed to South Florida. We were in Pembroke Pines for about a year.
We've neighbors. What
We
year?
were
Wait a
neighbors.
minute.
Oh my God. It's 20, I don't want to date myself here. My daughter's 24. So 23 years ago, she was a year when we got there.
We were neighbors. We were
Okay.
neighbors because my son's 23.
Oh, that's so funny. And so he was in Southcom. He was gone all the time. So I'm
Okay.
alone with the brand new baby with no family and friends. And the thing that got me
Oh,
through it was just working. I loved
yes.
doing this work because it was like a puzzle. It's like
Mhm,
it's a challenge and I have to be
mhm.
challenged. I can't, God bless the women. They got 4 kids. Hey, woohoo, good for them.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's another
challenging. Let me,
conversation. That's
that's challenging.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the challenge for me was just a different type of challenge. I needed it. So, but yeah. And so that was my way of getting into this business too. So yeah, that's how I treat my team. It's family first. If you have somebody that's ill or you have a child that you have to go pick up, do that. Do
Yeah.
that. It's important.
Oh,
So I'm
that's so
very, very much
great.
about that. Yeah. And I'm always telling the team, go take a walk, get some exercise, be with your family. Because when you come back, you're refreshed. You're
Mhm.
not stressed. You can focus. So it's kind of like same as you, same as
That
you.
is so it's so true. It is so
Yeah.
true because if you're stressed, then how can you really function? How
Right.
can you actually give your best? Sometimes, and I got this from one of my girlfriends, that she says if you have to say yes to one thing, then you have to say no to something else. So
Right.
you always want to align yourself with what's going to make sense. And this is what made sense at the time, transitioning into Move It Pro. My kids, they're both now graduated, and I'm able to really focus on presenting the software, working alongside with Jason and Kayla and our entire team with just implementing different ideas and what's going to be of a better of active service, I would
Yeah.
say, when we want to help our owners,
So
you
let's
know?
talk about Move It Pro. Tell me what is Move It Pro for those of people that maybe haven't
Okay.
heard from it, and then talk about what kind of problems that it solves for moving companies.
From the conversations that I have with everyone, it's like so many different features it does accomplish and solve for companies. So what we are is we are a CRM for the moving industry. A little bit of history, if you're not aware that Jason, he was actually born into the industry. His
Mhm.
father had a moving company, J&J Metro, and they had it for about 45 plus years. Actually, his grandmother started it, another lady in the industry, 1968, I think. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so Jason actually, when he came in, and many moving company owners know that this has happened, is everything is documented, everything is communicating, everything is about getting organized and scheduled. And it was all done in paper back in the day. Everything was in paper. And Jason was like, okay, there's got to be something
Be a
that we
better
can do
way.
that's better.
Yeah.
And what about scaling your business? Because really the value right now with scaling and what's more valuable than I think even revenue is time.
Mhm.
It's like we've created something that's giving back those owners time so that they can focus within their business instead of being outside on their business. They're wanting to be able to expand in which what would work best for them, because not many want to expand either laterally or vertically.
Right.
And so it just depends on what their needs are. But from the lion's den, call integration, being
Mhm.
able to handle those leads and convert those leads. We have a team that's trained in understanding the industry. The system is the tool that they use to handle all of that in Lions Den. And then we have the companies who use our tool, Move It Pro, now Move It Pro Plus, which is a new platform that's launching, which is
Mhm.
exciting. But those features that Jason has created is just what makes it easier for dispatching, for automated emails to the customers, signatures captured, payments collected, logs created, records implemented. I mean, there's just so many different ways also that movers use the software. Not
Mhm.
everyone does a guaranteed quote. There's different regulations that those documentations have to be provided to us because obviously each state has their own regulations. So they have to be accountable for that. But as a corporation, we are in compliance. And then we assist them in tailoring all that fun,
Yeah, that's
but
okay. I'm curious
but
about some of the nitty-gritties on it, though. So it does a lot. Dispatching, organizing trucks and
mhm,
people, and
mhm,
obviously estimating, I
mhm,
assume, estimate,
mhm. The
communication.
calculations,
Yeah,
are
yeah,
important.
uh-huh.
Yep, yep.
Inventory, I would assume?
Okay, so customized inventory. I mean, I had one time a company, I'm not sure if he's in business, but I know there was only a couple that did livestock and we had to actually do the entire customization of life. Can you imagine that licensed and insured? But yes, because you have the senior moves management, you have the designers, you have the commercial, corporate, different kind of inventory. So you want to want them to have that area of control of tailoring that for their business style.
What more does it do? So does it manage, like, communication in and out flowing? Uh,
Well, when you're talking
Texting?
about SMS messaging, it does manage the communication in and flowing, maybe the clicks, or if
Yep.
they've, gone through and checked out their estimate. Yes, it does do that. SMS messaging is obviously the language of the world today, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so the minute that, let's just say, if I create an estimate, communicating with that customer, and I'm a coordinator for a moving company owner, that estimate is going to go right into that customer's inbox or message automatically where they can actually review it, sign it. I get automatic triggers within the system, urgent notifications. It's just meant to have that flow of, instead of, okay, one person's going to pick up this phone call, the other person's going to finalize this. And then once everything is complete, the bill of lading, being able to integrate, where they're able to close that bill of lading and
Mm.
then, pull out reports or at least
Yeah,
answer some of those questions. Because I
yeah.
mean, I'm sure there's so much more. And then you got to forgive me too, because we're in the middle of presenting now from the legacy to the Move It Pro Plus. And so there's just so many different things in the plus that's happening as well.
Okay. And we were talking earlier how it's a fundamental, like you're not just adding little features, like you fundamentally are almost starting from scratch to build
Yes, it has
software.
been a long time project.
Wow.
Yes, it
That's a
definitely
huge
has.
deal.
The hours that I see them
Mm.
work on it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
So
amazing. That's amazing. So how does it differ from some of these other tools in the same space?
so you know how I feel that it differs from the other tools is that some of the other tools I feel, because there's not going to be that perfect
Yeah.
software.
Yep.
From what I've heard, right? There's not a perfect software. However, because now we have that opportunity to be able to try to get to that point, we're
Mhm.
striving. It differs in where it maybe can consolidate,
Mm.
okay, for customers where they're maybe investing in different, or maybe they want to have everything under one umbrella and they
Mhm.
want that ease of that integration because it is going to be open API. And so that's where it's also yes,
As a
yes, but
marketer, I'm like, yeah.
yes. So we definitely are transitioning into that, but there's just so much more because I also feel the value of Move It Pro, and I'm a researcher at heart.
Mhm.
I have my kid history major, science major, but taught them in researching. And when I did get to dive in and recognize the value of that Jason actually is, I truly believe, I mean, we could do our research, but from what I understand, he is the only moving company owner who actually created the system and is the CEO of the Move It Pro plus CRM and Move
Yeah.
It Pro Legacy. And so, yes, you can get information from other softwares and technology, and that's fantastic. There's not to take away from that, because I think I always tell everyone there's good competition out there, right? We have
Mhm.
football and we
Mhm.
love it, and we wouldn't have that life and that thrill if we didn't have football in our competition, right? With our
Right.
teams. Same thing with CRMs. But at the same time, I have gone to corporate events where I see Jason is walking and he is recognized with respect because
Yeah.
he is actually an owner that knows the blood, sweat, and tears. And he's looking out for those other owners out there to be
Wow.
successful as well. If that,
Yeah.
yeah, if that's the way of my
No,
take.
I've just got my anecdotal stuff. I've worked with a couple companies that literally had pen and paper still now in 2026.
Real.
Not even a
Yeah.
spreadsheet. I'm like, you can't even use like a Google sheet or something. I mean, I just
I
when they
think there's a fear. It's
it's
sort of
a
like a fear.
pure new technology, and some of them usually are a little older. They've been in the business for a very long time, so they don't quite see the value in it. But with
Mhm.
this latest client, we did move them up to our CRM, so we call it Moving Up Pro, and it's based on the high level system. So Go High Level is a CRM.
Mhm.
And when you say an
Yeah.
open API, we're always looking for those connections.
Okay.
When nowadays with AI, it's all about the automation. So my vision for any kind of moving companies, it's not so much that AI is going to take over, but how are we going to utilize the AI to automate, help you grow? And
Correct.
part of that is connecting to things like the Move It Pro software. So you have that side is what I call the operational CRM. That's the thing that's
Mhm.
managing your trucks and your people and your estimates. And then you have
Mhm.
a marketing CRM that's doing the funnels and the email
Mhm.
marketing. And in this case, we can establish the voice AI. So
Mhm.
late in the evening calls, weekend calls, but that all gets automated. If I can have an open AI, I can send it to Move It Pro so those leads don't get
Neat.
lost.
That's
Right.
neat. And
And
yeah, that's important. Now that you're saying leads get lost, that is something that it's like, what is the answer to not lose that lead, right?
right. That's the biggest for me. Again, I tell people I'm the quarterback, I'm throwing the ball. And if you on the other end, the receiver isn't catching the ball and you miss that
Mm,
50% of the catches, that's a real problem because you've already spent
yeah.
thousands to get the ball to you, you
Mhm.
know, and then no one's catching it and taking it to the end zone.
It's a great visual. Like,
Yeah, and then you got the coach who's the owner of the company is not looking at all the parts. He's all they're seeing is like, oh, the salesperson took this to the end zone. What he didn't
mhm.
see was 50% drops and the quarterback either getting tackled constantly or whatever the case. So that's the CEO. And again, you have to have a game plan. You got to have your
Mhm.
logistics
Mhm.
ready and you have to have the tool that says, okay, guys, here's how we're going to run this.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that's how that combination of having the marketing CRM and an operational CRM is so crucial to growth. And what are you seeing right now as like biggest growth opportunities for moving companies in that space? What do you see?
Oh my gosh, what do I see? I mean, that's a good question because I wanna try to see if I'm gonna answer it properly. New moving companies versus established companies, maybe? I can put it
That's
in
a
a
good one.
two-part.
Yeah.
So with new moving companies, if they haven't had the opportunity to find the tool as of yet, then with Move It Pro, they're probably not gonna be able to need to go elsewhere. They're gonna be able to have everything. And obviously, we're having a pre-launch opportunity for those customers. And
Mhm.
then also, we do have the established companies, the multi-branch customers that they're looking for something that's gonna be at ease. We do have call integration where they have multi different branches, different representatives, different areas where they want to be able to capture all of that. Are we going to be implementing AI? Absolutely. We're going to be able to have that and it's going to make it a little bit more seamless. So hopefully
Mhm.
I was able to answer that as a two-part question because I want to say there is a majority of moving company owners that are similar, but not everyone is. I
Yeah.
think I've heard it all. And warehouse component. Warehouse, I think we're all guilty of it. Even our legacy software does not capture really the true essence of what warehouse company really need. And
Mhm.
so we are diving in and making it a more robust with the Move It Pro Plus. So
Interesting.
that'll
Yeah.
be a game changer as well.
I used to work for the Defense Department. I was a logistician and we did all the warehousings. We did all the
Yeah.
inventory management, typical Defense Department, building out the software to manage the inventory in all these depots
Wow.
across the country. I was there 10 years and I don't think we even finished it.
And
That's
I'm glad you're tapping on that because, yes,
mhm,
it's taken years for
mhm,
us to be in this project and developing, but it also takes a certain understanding when it
mhm,
comes to when I actually have the conversations and we have our meetings with our developers and listening to Jason,
mhm,
understanding, okay, this is how we need to connect this to connect it to this. And
mhm.
really, yes, I understand technology is great. You can act as a designer. Okay, let me design this. But if you actually know how to design, understand what your vision is, and be able to implement it instead of just saying, design me this. As
Right.
a designer, you're going to know the difference,
Yeah.
right? Versus AI. And so I think that's the
Yeah.
difference, the same thing with a designer, a developer, and the mind of an owner. So,
Yeah. This is
yeah.
how it really works. AI is only
Yeah.
using what it's been given, but you need
Correct.
somebody that's been through it that understands all the little things that can make or break that software.
Yeah.
I trained on it.
Yeah.
I was a picker. So for like a day, I was up and down the aisles picking. And I think,
Oh my, you're in
oh
great
Lord,
shape.
I just graduated college and all I kept thinking, I'm only here for a month. I'm only here for it's a hard job, man. I was like, oh, I don't know how people do
Wow.
this.
And you had to probably have speed too, right?
Yeah. Oh, we had steel-toed shoes and the whole thing.
Wow.
But
You
yeah,
were cool. You're still cool. Yeah.
and it was, but understanding that part where when you have the picker, it was all about understanding where in the warehouse it was. And
Mhm.
especially from the moving company, I've had a client that just bought a warehouse. He had staging areas, he had
Mhm.
packing areas, he had places where they were all in kind of like pods kind of thing. Everything was in
Okay. Yeah, that's popular too.
yeah, it wasn't a pod, it was a big box and everybody
Okay.
was in there. But because new people would come, he had to make sure that the box was in the right place, but then they might have a second and third box. So where is that gonna go? Because it's all taken
Right.
you see his mind trying to figure out efficiencies, making sure the team understood. I don't even think he had
Right.
software
You
there.
have to really know. It's kind of like understanding how to read a map,
Yeah.
understanding all of the components, navigating the ocean. And if you're able to create a system that's going to be able to navigate your warehouse
Mm.
and know what items are in a specific area and communicate with the customer, then that's going to be something that's exciting and it just makes it easier.
And I think for newer companies getting into that market is a bit tough because
Mm.
most of them do the rental facilities. We have an agreement with them. But as you get bigger, more trucks, you do really want to own that space from what I've seen, just for cost efficiencies. And there's a good income made from that if you can get it, if you can get the warehouse
Yeah.
built. Um,
Yeah. I
so,
mean, we have stories.
no, yeah, tell me.
But we have stories. I think Jason in one of his podcasts had discussed that there was a customer, and let me tell you something, when it comes to memory, or cherished items, because
Mhm.
obviously moving is an act of service. It's about protecting everyone's items. And they had an inventory, storage warehouse of some family that they had to move years ago
Mhm.
out of the state. And he had their items for years and years later. I don't even know how many years, but it was
Mhm.
such a long time because they kept paying because they wanted to save their items and they knew
Yeah.
they would move back to the state. And I was like, wow.
So
Oh, I un
he had them store stuff for years just because
Yeah.
he knew that he was gonna protect it. It wasn't gonna be in some
Yep.
random storage
Yep.
facility, which you never know what's going on in those things. Yeah. Wow,
Correct.
that's
Correct.
testament. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, go ahead.
no, I was gonna ask you about scaling without burning out. How does the Move It Pro software help people scale?
I definitely feel like the burnout is not meant to be there when
Mhm.
you use the Mover Pro
Mhm.
software. And if we're talking about office versus out on the field, because it's two different ways of burning out, but whoever is running a mega company or even a smaller company, you're going to want to be able to know when those triggers come out, who you need to communicate, override follow ups. That's where I think that burnout gets eliminated. In
Yeah.
my understanding, as a coordinator and as a representative for moving companies, because that's how I ended up starting. And you can easily get slipped through the cracks if you're not organized with a very organized tool. 'Cause using the system is meant to scale, and then, of course, scaling the jobs, scaling the communication, scaling with your team as well, because you're communicating with your team, saving yourself time, who's gonna be on which job. But at the same time, you're going to wanna be able to use a tool that's gonna function and have that accuracy. And then, of course, the calculations is meant to really be accurate so that you don't have to worry about that in
Yeah.
that
I think
out.
it also back to that conversation we had earlier about family is when you start building using software like this, it's not all on you.
Mhm.
It's not
Mhm.
everything is on you to manage every single lead that comes through. So having it on a piece of paper, or even on a spreadsheet, it's usually the owner that has
Mhm.
to own that whole process. So unless they
Mhm.
get it off of their desk and you have two or three other people that have access to it, you can go home at night and be with your family.
Yeah.
Because that once you get home and then someone gets a phone call, "Hey, I need to change my date, but where's that piece of paper? Where's the spreadsheet? Hey, Joe, owner of moving company, we can't find Sarah. What's going on? Oh, hold on. Now he's got to stop. He's got to go to his home office. He's got to pull up what he's looking for. Oh, yeah,
And
that's
he doesn't
that.
have to deal with Move It Pro, just log in wherever
Helpful.
you're at.
He feels empowered. He can go home or she can go home with their family and be with them. And wife spot partners aren't like, you're always working so much.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's from a
I know
scaling
that.
perspective. I know the feeling. It's back at the scaling. So one of the other parts of scaling too, I'm thinking about is that as you're adding trucks and adding people, you start adding locations and stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's so important.
Yeah.
You cannot
The
scale
branches.
having that CRM, that software,
Yes. Absolutely.
unless
Absolutely.
you
And
have
that's branches.
team of people to have books. I'm trying to remember what they did 30 years ago. I'm sure it was a big ledger and he had a person responsible for it, like
Yeah.
flipping through the ledger. Brian, here.
Yeah. No. And what with the CRM is what you're tapping in is branches.
Yeah.
And so if you're having multiple branches and you just want to be able to just really look to see how both locations are doing, you're going to be able to see it within the CRM. If you're going to want to be able to just separate it really under the umbrella of the CRM to focus on one location rather than the other, you're going to be able to do that as well. And we cater for companies like that. And then also, if they're communicating with one another from different locations, they're going to be able to see how you can chat within the system with one another. You're going to be able to see the notes. You're going to be able to see all the documentation. It's just meant to make it easier.
What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that moving companies might do, especially ones that are trying to scale? What are some mistakes that you see just off of what maybe you've experienced or have heard of, but mostly with the software? Maybe
Okay.
if they're not utilizing it to its full
Nope,
potential.
and that is true that they're not using it because if you don't use it, I always say you lose it. If you don't
Yeah.
use it, you're investing in something that's a tool that's meant to help you, correct?
Mhm.
And if you're not utilizing it, if you're not learning and not training in it and not understanding it, not asking questions, then how are you going to get to the point of mastery where it becomes seamless? Okay. When I got into the Move It Pro software, and learning it, it is very user friendly. Okay. Even if we're talking about the legacy one in comparison to our Move It Pro Plus,
Mhm.
very user friendly. But of course, I would get in it and I would use it. And I always tell customers, the owners of that question that you're saying is that one of the things that does set us apart is the customer service support that we have. Our support team, they're right next to me. They're amazing. And if you're not getting into those trainings, those first 3 initial trainings, but our trainings are unlimited, and then you're not touching the software, you're not going to master the software. It's meant to be easy. It should not be complicated. When I hear that a software is complicated, it's either 2 reasons. You're not learning to use it or it's hard for you to use and it's not being taught for you to understand. And even if it's being taught and it's hard, then it's too complicated. So, yes, I think it also has to do with different generations too. It depends on what stage you are as far as learning something. As an educator, that classical background, and I say that in a humble way, but when you see a child or someone that's wanting to learn, but you put a block right in front of you because it's kind of you seem it's too hard, you're not going to learn. You
Right.
have to remove that, and so when I do speak to customers and they'll look at 'em and say, "Oh, I'm used to doing it this way," I always say to them, "Listen, I completely understand. It's kinda like the Apple and the Android, where you swipe up and you swipe left." Once you get used to the different ways you
Yeah.
navigate, it's the
Yeah.
same thing with the software. But hopefully that was able to answer that question,
Yeah.
is what I usually see.
I would say
Yeah.
the biggest mistake is they're not using a CRM. It's
That is the it is the biggest mistake, but
honestly,
if you invest in it, because I see
that's
a lot of
yeah.
investing in any CRM, and you have to learn how to utilize it, but you also have to have a team that cares enough that's
Yeah.
gonna wanna back you up and be successful.
No, you get a good point. Yeah, definitely it's a investment. People want to look at it as an expense. And then obviously in your QuickBooks or Intuit, it is listed as an expense, but you cannot think of it that way. It is an absolute investment. You cannot grow without the right kind of operational CRM. I don't care what software it is, you
Mhm,
can't grow. You will be stuck right where you're at unless you are utilizing these tools. And you're right. The
mhm,
second mistake you brought up was other people have to be adopted into it. You can't
mhm,
be the only one using it. Your
mhm.
whole team needs to be in it, living in it, working in it, answering to it.
Yes, living in it, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, we use Teamwork as our operational
Mhm,
CRM.
mhm,
I mean, our Moving Up app, like I said, that's the marketing arm.
mhm,
Teamwork is the internal operations arm. We live in this thing, true,
mhm,
and all of our
mhm.
internal communications, tasks, milestones, project management. And I think the third mistake I would add is knowing your numbers is
Yes.
what a Move It Pro software can help you with. Those
Mhm,
how fast you're getting things done, how long it takes, who's your best workers, who's the most efficient. I think
mhm.
software like that helps you make better financial decisions.
True.
And in my case, when I ask new movers, how many leads do you get on average per month in the peak season? And how many convert to like an estimate? And how many convert to a booked move? And if you don't know
Mhm,
those numbers, that's a
mhm.
problem. You have,
Yeah,
that is the, if you don't know, you need to know that number.
yeah,
And these
yeah.
tools and you should look at it daily. You should see how long did it take them to take a one bedroom or a studio apartment to a house? How long did that take? How efficient were they? What changes do you have to make? Is somebody not living up to the potential? Like, do we need a new logistical way to get from point A to point B? You don't
Mhm,
take the highway. Maybe it's faster. UPS is famous for
mhm.
the right-handed turns. When it found out you stopping at a light,
Really?
takes time.
Well, that is
Go up
funny.
one, take a right.
Take a right. Take a
Yeah,
right. That's good. Take a right.
but
No,
that's
but
what you
it's
think.
true.
They looked at those
Wow.
numbers. They had all those numbers. So yeah.
I like that. You know what? Like I said, I'm a researcher. I love my numbers. I want to know where the numbers are. Like when I communicate with customers and have that dashboard, there's going to be that information that's already implemented in Legacy. It's implemented in the Mobile Pro software as well. And I think that's very critical. Obviously, there might not be every single little detail as far as because you specialize in the marketing, and I could be wrong because right now, as I'm speaking to you, I know that there is continual development always going on with our system. But it is very crucial because why? You want to be able to see how you did from 1 month to the next month, from 1 year to the next year. What can we do better?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's
You're
smart.
getting 100 tech support tickets a month, and but
Oh,
had 50. Oh. It's wrong, what's happening, so yeah, it's
Well, that's also measuring your team,
that
measuring what's going on with them.
we track how fast we respond to support requests, how fast we solve support requests,
Yes.
fast do we get a
Yes.
website out live. We're always tracking that.
So good. Urgency.
Everybody's got
For
their
me, it's urgency.
urgency. Yeah. 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 So how do you think the moving industry is changing right now when it comes and adapting to all of this technology? What have you seen? I mean, especially now that fundamentally updated the software
Mhm.
based, I'm sure, what you've seen. What are you looking at in terms of industry and the changes?
So I do see more involvement in using tools. I
Mhm,
do see more involvement in using tools. How can the tools benefit my company so that my company can grow?
mhm,
So it is definitely technology has changed the industry for sure. I think when they're launching a new business, a lot, and you probably have these conversations with your customers, is they want to be able to have the SEO, the marketing, the metrics, everything that has to be, involved with how they're going to be able to be successful to growing their business, right? Mapping something out. Where I see those that are like, okay, well, give me the right tool and I'm going to be involved in doing it. I'm going to get in front of that camera. I'm going to be able to market and brand myself. So I feel that's what I see in involvement. As far as changing with that aspect to get in front of customers, there's
mhm,
still some, I'm going to call them the antiquated, which I still love it, sending a nice letter to the customer. I still do those things.
mhm,
Being that, providing that personal touch. What has not changed is the communication of that one on one, even if we do have AI, because it has its place to serve us and serve us well, but you still are gonna wanna have those customers that are gonna wanna, "Okay, let's connect." So use the AI for a certain component, but connect with that person and have that personal touch. So that's what I see. The more involvement, more personal touch, more where customers are gonna know who the owners are, who's their team lead, the crew, just becoming more of that relaxed family, caring atmosphere. And you're bringing me back to commercials and you're
mhm.
bringing me back to ethos. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's that emotion of wanting to be able to be authentic and real to your clients so that you can retain them. That was a lot.
No, but that's so true though. Everybody's all scared of AI.
Mhm.
And I understand that. I mean, especially in my industry, people, it's like, it's the end of marketing agencies. I'm like, oh, well,
No.
exactly. It's a little over the top, but it's 100% shifting.
Yeah.
Um, but you're right in that. And that's what I tell our movers too, is like, get off your tush outside and go meet people. Okay. I
Yeah.
can only do so much online for you. But people today want to have that conversation, look you in the eye, shake your hand, ask questions
Yeah.
person to person. That means you go into the realtor luncheons. That means you go into the chamber.
Yes.
That means that you sponsor the local T-ball or swim club and you show up with your truck. You have to get
It's a good
on.
thing. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, we all got a little lazy, it's just that you're in a time when I was from, which, it's like Voldemort.
Yeah.
I shall not say the words. Um,
I got you. No, it's understandable, but it's true. I mean,
AI is
mm,
it's too polished and perfect and weird. It's still weird. You see these videos, you're like, okay, that's funny, but please don't make it so that I'm supposed to believe you that it's real. Like that bothers me. But if you make it silly and fun, I'm
right,
totally fine with that. And what I tell moving companies is like, have the polished video, have the polished version of you, but people really want realness. Um,
right,
just pimples on you, maybe not perfectly coiffed hair,
right.
they kind of want people, real people, flaws and all, and just be okay with that. You know?
It's true. It's true. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen my videos. I'm like,
Yeah, say it. Yeah.
Stewie, because I mean, that's another thing, going back into the workforce,
Yeah.
everything is marketing and everything is communicating to everybody. And I'm like, oh, I really have to do that. All right, whatever. And I'm like, when
It's true, the adage, you see all these memes around, like, I didn't become an entrepreneur to be a content creator, who knew that's what I had to become? And I'm like, it's not, that's true. You
it's
have to,
true.
and if it's not you, the owner of the moving company, someone in your office needs to be comfortable doing these
Yes.
quick videos and having fun.
Yep. Yep. I rolled with it. I mean, I rolled.
Go with it. So,
I
yeah.
we have a bell that we ring here
Yeah.
whenever we're always onboarding someone new,
Uh-huh.
signing on someone new, and it's a lot
Mhm.
of fun, and we're like, "Woo!" I mean,
Nice.
it's a little corny a little bit, but you know what? It's
Learning it's fun.
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 It's fun, and I think that's another thing. It's like, "Hey, I definitely wanna work and be part of, maybe with Jeannie or having her help me and oversee, what
Mhm.
we do and my go-to person if there's an issue." That's another thing that we definitely all of our account managers are always making sure that our customers are doing well,
Yeah.
and we're just reaching out and having that conversation with them.
Yeah. Where do you kind of see the future of the moving aid, especially the software? Where do you see? I mean, you've got this new the pro
I
version.
know.
When does that start? When's that come alive?
It's actually launching March 4th, so the force be with you, the 4th
The
be with
first.
you.
Uh-huh.
But it is launching the future. Well, I think what it is that the future is here, it's
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
One of the things that I always, share with all of our customers or, our current customers, that Jason is definitely someone who, he's pensive. He thinks things through
Mhm.
before he jumps on something. And because AI, when it first came out, right, it's been, I'm gonna say like I don't know when now movers were starting to adopt it. And one of the things that was important is to make sure that when you're gonna adopt anything or you're gonna wanna, work with something that's new and innovative, you're gonna wanna make sure that it's gonna make sense and it's working. That's
Yeah.
another thing, because
Yeah.
nothing is infallible,
No.
and so that's another thing, but the future Move It Pro, I mean, I think it's gonna, be exploding in the sense of technology. We're always, hiring and growing so that we're able to keep up with being able to assist companies, even, larger corporate companies. Those are conversations that I have usually takes several months or even years to get to the process of understanding of what their needs are and then being able to have them on board. I mean, we onboard them quickly, but I'm talking about conversations. We're
Yeah.
having conversations with those type of scale companies, and then that's where it's like, okay, which direction do we pivot? But I don't know. I think we're going to want to probably cover everything. Really, it's from when I came in, I knew that it was the number one software, and again, I say that humbly because it's an honor to
Mhm.
be a part of it, but I feel like that's what I'm seeing. It's like we're trying to maintain that status, and it was
Mhm.
time to create the Mover Pro Plus for the future.
Well, where are you looking at in terms of opportunities for moving company owners? Like, where do you see that changing outside of the CRM? You being a business development person, have you seen that? Especially we had the mastermind recently. What did you kind of think was the future coming for moving company?
So I think I see moving company owners buying multiple businesses. I
Mm,
do see that. I see that a
mhm.
lot.
I see that
Wanting
too. Yeah.
wanting to have multiple businesses, wanting
Mhm,
to be able to know what is going on, but also trust who's overseeing the business with obviously technology. But
mhm,
then I have to say generational future.
mm,
Again, we're going back to full circle about family, and that conversation is there. Why do we do what we do? Why do we wake up every day?
mm,
Because we want to be able to have something that we can provide for that future generation and also be an impact in some
yeah,
way.
yeah,
And I do see the future of moving company owners where they're having multiple businesses, but at the same time, they're giving back as well and being an impact, which I
yeah.
think is neat. I
Yeah,
mean,
I see
that's
the
my
same
takeaway.
thing is that they're putting their hands in different things, and one of them is kind of the cleaning side, the move
Yeah.
out cleaning. So that tends to be like another business arm, but they pull it in when needed. Others is the
Mhm.
storage that we talked about. Another is kind of the staging business. Some of them have a separate staging business. They get like a
Mhm.
interior designer or something involved.
Yeah,
You see that
yeah,
that
all of
weathers,
those ways.
yeah, weathers the recession storms or weathers the summer versus winter and stuff. So you can have a nice income stream throughout.
And another thing that I wanted to say is that the senior moves management. I have accounts.
Yeah.
Senior move management, I think,
Mhm.
is it true? I think what they're saying is that we're in the first time ever, you have so many seniors, right?
Mhm.
That are living that bracket.
Yeah.
And so that right there is like that avenue, that lane of being able to, from the beginning to the end, to
Yeah.
where they're
They've got
transferring.
certifications now for to be a
Yes.
senior mover. There's a whole
Okay.
association out there, like Senior Move Association, and they will teach you, which I think is if you're going to take that business on, because I've been through it personally, It's really important you understand your audience. A lot of these movers just like, yeah, we'll just move your senior move, but there is a process to it. You really need to have somebody there because if they don't have family and you've got
Mhm,
somebody that is elderly, they don't
mhm.
they're not quite sure what you're talking
It's
about. They're
true.
overwhelmed. And so I highly recommend any moving company get that person certified.
Mhm, mhm.
It was a big mistake because she got there and half of her stuff wasn't there. And she didn't think to ask. And this other
Wow.
company didn't ask us as the son and daughter to be there. They're like, we don't want you
Mhm.
here. It's going to confuse her. And now I totally regret that. Like we should have been like, no, we're going to be there. She's
Oh, yeah.
already kind of
It's like an advocate, like when
you're an
someone's in a
advocate, just like a
hospital, you want.
hospital. Yeah.
Yeah,
Every doctor
yeah.
said that. We don't want family in here. You're gonna interrupt in our operation.
I don't think so.
No, that's not.
No, no.
So what do you think would be something a moving company could do that would be kind of a quick win for them if they're looking at scaling right now? Besides going to Move It Pro and signing up and getting a get
What did you say? I didn't hear you. Say it again.
what? Yeah, what? See
Teasing,
that?
I'm teasing you. No, what would be something, I mean, the first thing that comes up to me to mind is, they're definitely have to understand their margins,
Mhm.
of what they're gonna do when they begin to invest, right? That's what you're asking.
Yeah.
And then, I as a designer, I'm thinking, "Okay, well, let's be feasible, some rent trucks, right? They're lease the trucks or, buy secondhand trucks."
Mhm.
And then they prepare themselves and then start building those relationships. If that's what you're asking me on how if I were
Yeah.
to start a moving company, what would
Yeah.
I do? Well, the first thing,
What's a quick win that you can think of if you were just starting a moving company? What would be something you would do?
the quick win, I think, is gonna be with all the connections that you already have.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
quick win right there. You're gonna have all that data already. All you
Yeah.
have to do is just
Yeah.
go to your phone, learn how to send the
Start
blast email, start
talking.
talking to people, letting them know what's going on. You're gonna see family and friends that are going to wanna talk for you and
Mhm.
wanna help you. And
Mhm.
sometimes people are like, "Oh, I don't wanna be that lady that's knocking on that door,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
selling something." No, that's not it. They just wanna be able to help you and see you also be successful.
Yeah. But just
So,
show up. Just show up.
yes.
Even if you do
Oh
the
my gosh.
networking function, if you just show up consistently and
Yeah.
tell people you're probably like, well, I just started my moving company. I've got a couple guys, my college buddies, we just started. And so if you show up on a consistent basis, those are absolute quick wins. I just had a client. I'm like, you need to join the
Yeah.
chamber. What happened? He got a $30,000 gig from it because he showed up consistent,
Awesome.
you know?
Showing up and
Yeah,
consistency.
absolutely.
Yes,
And
those 2 go together.
before we end, you brought up something about the software. I'm really curious about your onboarding process because
Okay.
I'm imagining it's probably a little overwhelming to start working on the software, whether you might have used other tools that are out there and you're migrating or you're starting fresh. What's that onboarding kind of look like for you?
Yep. So onboarding, usually it's just 45 minutes. Onboarding is the initial first meeting that
Mhm,
they actually get an official introduction in the sense of learning what their metrics are within the system because the owners who have signed on already has had a visual presentation of the software. So they understand it, but then now they're going to have it implemented for their business.
mhm,
And it's 45 minutes. So usually bird's eye overview. You want to do that first. Again, that's very classical. Then you go into the next session, which we schedule right after that 45 minutes for them to now start training in steps. And the reason why we do it that way is because, yes, we don't want them to be overwhelmed. We don't want them to just look at something and say, well, this is not going to work for us or this isn't easy for us. That's not the case. We want to work out with their initial estimate, with how they're going to communicate within the system and how it's going to be sent to the customer and then understand what does it take with 2 guys versus 3 guys, and whether it's local, long distance, like just all of the simple metrics in the beginning. And then as they're proceeding, then we're implementing other things that as needed and continual training. So that's another thing. We could train an entire team at the same time, or we could train you individually. It just depends on how the company wants to proceed.
oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So besides, we already talked about, I was going to ask a question about what's next for Move It Pro, but we already talked about that. Did we
Yeah,
already see what's coming down the pipeline?
that's
Um,
exciting.
where can listeners learn more about you, Jeannie, and Move It Pro software and connect?
They can connect at our Move It Pro website. Absolutely. I know that we're probably going to be working on Shift Happens, more podcast as well. We're going to be able to have, I mean, I know there was a talk about maybe a webinar. but we're going to be doing that as well. We're going to be able to even Legends events. All they have to do is just reach out to our website. Obviously, we have all those links, everything available. Customers, the minute they go there, you'll be proud of us. We're going to get all that in. We already know. They're like, wow, I just filled out a
What
form.
for?
And you reach back out to them and like, hey, that's what we're here for. We want to give you
Yeah.
that support immediately. It gives you a window of what our service is actually here at Move It Pro. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jeannie. Appreciate you hopping on. It
So,
was a great conversation.
oh my goodness, I had so much fun, Christina. It was
Yeah, me too.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks again. We'll talk soon.